Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Now, the USA extended its vaccination program months ago to include children over 12, but it's the spread of the Delta variant that's been blamed for the steep increase in cases there right now. Last week, 1 in 5 cases recorded in the US were in Florida, reaching more than 21,000 a day, higher than last year's peak. Vaccine hesitancy and misinformation are fueling the numbers, as Florida's Republican governor, Ron DeSantis, continues to oppose strict restrictions like mask wearing and vaccine mandates. Our reporter Kate Fisher has been to a hospital in Miami.
COVID hasn't stopped for us and now exploded in an exponential way this past weekend.
Alex Zakarski has been an ICU nurse for 18 years, but she says the rapid resurgence of a virus that she thought was under control has tested her more than anything in her career.
It's very hard to see families on the other side of the phone and be crying and saying that he or she should have vaccinated, and we're saying to them goodbye, and it's absolutely horrible. How's she doing?
On Friday, this hospital realised that their 8 beds in their COVID ICU would no longer be enough. So they moved upstairs here, tripling their capacity to 24. Already, there are 12 beds that are filled. All of those people are on ventilators, and very few of them are expected to survive.
Of the 238 COVID inpatients in this hospital system, more than 90% are unvaccinated.
It's exhausting. It's very sad, to be honest. We feel that we need your help to help you. We can't do this alone.
More are heeding that call. The number of people in Florida getting vaccinated last week increased by 40% from the first week of July. But there are still many Floridians who will not take the vaccine. One of the strongest opponents is a local politician.
There's nothing standing in the way of the government to control each and every aspect of your life if you give in on stupid non-pharmaceutical interventions like masks and vaccine mandates. In Europe and places where there is no freedom, no liberty, no freedom of thought, I think that's a little bit more popular. But here we resist it a little bit more because we believe in individual freedom.
Many scientists and medical professionals are saying that wearing a mask does work to curb the virus.
So that's not an argument. What you're actually relying upon is an ideology of our times that says if somebody is a credentialed person, if they go to a college or university, that what they say has an automatic merit that cannot be questioned by the reasoned public.
So I just spent the morning with some of those people that went to college and got these certificates to say that they are qualified as nurses and doctors, and they all told me that they wanted people to wear masks, they wanted people to get a vaccine.
They have no understanding of the science whatsoever. They have no understanding.
Have you had the vaccine?
No.
And why is that?
Because I'm 32 years old, I'm in great shape, and I don't need it.
But back on the COVID ward, the staff would disagree.
And now they're very young, 20s, 30s, 40s. At the beginning, it was more like old people, but now it's very young people.
Nurse Gemma Weiss says the majority of her patients have not been vaccinated and now regret it.
And what kind of things do they say to you?
They thought that they were immune, that they were healthy, that they didn't need it. It's hard being here.
We need to take this a little bit more serious than we have.
As a healthy 35-year-old, Junie Oscar didn't think she'd need it either. Now she's on the COVID ward.
People are on ventilators, people are like literally bodies about to drop.
But she's still not ready to get vaccinated.
I mean, I'm definitely gonna look into it to understand it a little bit more.
As Florida grapples with vaccine hesitancy, it's also contending with the wholesale rejection of science. Iris Acosta-Zobel pulled her 7-year-old daughter out of her private school in May after the co-founder sent an email advising teachers and parents not to get vaccinated, and students were warned to stay away from loved ones who had been.
I have emails of communications from kids in the classroom texting their parents. The teachers were telling them not to hug their parents if they were vaccinated. because vaccines were something that transmit from your body to their bodies, and it was not good for the kids. At the point in time, the misinformation was so much inside the building that we couldn't keep our child in there. It becomes not safe psychologically, right?
When we asked for comment, the school's co-founder declined to speak to us. The concern of those on the front line is that this misinformation is preventing Florida from escaping the grip of COVID-19 and leading to what nurse Alex Zakarsky describes as the pandemic of the unvaccinated.
Given what you and your staff went through last year, how do you feel that you're back at this stage now?
We're expecting to get worse, if not much worse than before.
Well, after 18 long months of trying to save lives in a very rainy Florida, those healthcare workers are urging people to come to vaccination sites like this one to protect themselves. And there are even a few people braving this weather today to do so, but infection rates continue to tick up. We called the hospital system, who run the hospital that we filmed at on Monday, and they've had new COVID patients since then, and statewide it is the same issue. There are now more than 12,000 people with COVID-19 in hospital in Florida today. That is higher than the peak last summer, and it is not just low vaccination rates that are fueling this, it's also a lack of restrictions. There's no mask mandate here in Florida, and anecdotally I can tell you that the team and I, we've been traveling around, we can definitely say that there are far fewer people we've seen wearing masks here than in, say, Washington, D.C., where infection rates are much lower. And that mask resistance is coming from the top. Governor Ron DeSantis, who is a big Trump ally, he also perhaps is harbouring presidential ambitions of his own. He has not introduced a mask mandate. In fact, he's introduced an executive order which bans schools from allowing people, from forcing people to wear masks inside. Ron DeSantis, the governor, is playing down the issues in his state, and he said, in fact, it's just the media who are fear-mongering.
Kate Fisher, thank you very much, and some not at all distracting weather.
It's a case study in what happens when religion and politics clash with science. The number of COVID infections are surging in the United States as a result of the Delta variant. But it's where that's happening that's most interesting. Health professionals are calling it an epidemic of the unvaccinated. There was an average of 113,000 cases per day in the US over the last week. But the sharp increase in hospitalizations and deaths is nearly all concentrated in strongly Republican and religious southern states, where vaccine take-up has been virtually half the national average. Our North America editor, John Sopel, is in Louisiana and has been travelling across the Deep South to find out why. And a warning, his report contains distressing images.
The Life Tabernacle Church in Louisiana. Congregation thousands, influence in the state considerable, a message, don't get vaccinated. Pastor Spell estimates fewer than 1% of his churchgoers have been.
Vaccinations keep them alive.
They will not. That has not been proven.
But this is an epidemic of the unvaccinated now in the South.
That is what is being said by politicians, but we don't trust that.
And the people who run the hospitals.
And that is financially motivated.
And those we spoke to before the service began were of like mind.
Have you been vaccinated?
No, sir, I have not.
And will you get vaccinated?
No, sir, I won't.
Why?
Because I don't trust it and I don't know what's in them.
Are you going to get vaccinated?
No.
Why?
I'm not. I don't think there's a need for a vaccination. Like I feel like I'm okay without it.
Someone else who bought into this viewpoint was 22-year-old Josh Bradstreet Contreras. He was a fit, healthy college kid, and last Friday, after contracting COVID a week earlier, died. He was unvaccinated. His mother Tasha is now on a mission to persuade other young people that actually they're not invincible.
If I can sell all my worldly possessions, and it's not much that I have, to bring Josh back, I would. Everything, even a shirt on my back.
So in other words, get the vaccine.
Take the vaccine. Take the vaccine.
In Louisiana, just 37% of adults have had the jab. Across the state line, that drops to 35%, the lowest in the country. We've just crossed the border from Louisiana into Mississippi, another state where cases are surging, another state where it's impossible to get an intensive care bed. But the Republican governor is refusing to follow government advice that people should wear a mask. Once again, issues of politics have become hopelessly intertwined with matters of public health. And the politics is this. The areas with the lowest vaccine rates are in districts where support for Donald Trump was highest. And in a rewriting of one of America's most famous gun-supporting slogans, these people are defending the right not to bear their arms. But that's resulted in the King's Daughters Hospital in rural Mississippi being inundated like never before with COVID cases. The senior physician is wrung out.
It's pretty dire. We're running out of beds, we're running out of staff, we're even running out of the oxygen means that we give these patients.
We're interrupted by him having to deal with an emergency in intensive care.
We have a patient that is maxed out on life support in the intensive care unit. Despite our best efforts and measures, they're just not getting better.
A couple of hours after we'd stopped filming, we were told that the 68-year-old man had died. He hadn't been vaccinated. John Sopel, BBC News in the Deep South.